Well, thanks for doing the podcast.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of your guys' product. I don't
Thank
know if it's your wife, but she was at one of the events around Christmas time, and I went there and I spent like $80 on a bunch of chocolate.
She's, I think you guys were at the Mason. I think that was the
Yeah.
Mason one.
Yeah.
And Julia, she's my girlfriend, and she actually came in with us about what 2 years ago.
About 2 years.
About
Yeah.
2 years ago, right? We started this. How long have we been doing this? About 10 years.
Okay, you mean the chocolate business or together business?
Together, 10 years.
Around 10 years.
So
Wow.
10 years we've been doing different things, just working together as a family business. And we've had a long story with us. But if you ever really want to go through the whole story of that one, but 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago, we decided. I looked at my coffee roaster, and I'm like, we're, we roast coffee for all these different people, but everyone I know likes to roast coffee. There's a million different people who roast coffee at home and commercially. So what can we do with that? And so we looked at the chocolate, and we spent months trying to figure out the right combinations and different things like that. And we went to Shipshawana, and I was like, okay, if we do just a little bit, if we only sell 5 of them, we'll put it on our list. We'll try it. So we took 40, and we sold all 40 within the first day.
Whoa.
And then we were like, okay, we'll try it one more time. That might have been a fluke. It might have just been the first shot. And then we took it again. But we did everything you could do so bad at it. We really did. We did everything you could do to make it worse. Our packaging was the worst. Not intentional. We just didn't put, we just put them in these little bags. And we sealed the bags, and we stapled the
labels that like felt folded over.
Yeah.
Stapled them.
Yeah, we just had little paper labels. We stapled them on there. We said, okay, great, this is it. And I mean, it looked like you could buy this at grocery, like a little kid stand, right?
Right.
And people like tried them, and they're like, oh my god, we want this. And so we sold them. And I'm wondering if that was me. Hold up. I need to just do something really quick on this. I apologize.
No, you're good.
That should not have been me. That could have been somebody else.
What I love about stories like that is that you have an origin story of where you came from, and now it's interesting to see like where it started and then where it is now, because your packaging is like top notch. It's like professional.
It's getting so much better. And in fact, we are actually working on taking these and actually Caitlin's redesigning this bag and having the bag without the labels or anything, but redesigning so everything's on the bag, so it comes across, and helping us not do that. We're actually eliminating the candy bars and making a single serve, or like we're the same bag, but it's going to be a smaller bag where you can go with the bites, because we find a lot of people like the bites versus the candy bars. And so it'll be like eight bites in a bag, and you rip them open, you can eat them. So we can get in better. A lot of the gas stations we go to say, we like your product, we'd love to have it, but the problem is we have no space. And you got 25,000 different candy bars out there. So what can make your candy bar different? And they're like, well, we do have space if you can put this in a smaller bag. So we've designed that. So we're waiting for those bags. So we designed it for that. We've been having a discussion about that, because she's like, Dad, that's going to take over the bites, and I'm like, no, it's not, because the bites have become our favorite thing. It was funny because we started off with the melts. I don't know, did you ever have the melts, or did you only start with the bites?
I think just the bites.
All right, so we started with the thing called melts 2 years ago. So they were like double the size of the bites, and they were like a half cup of coffee every time you put them in. And we sold those things, and they were harder to sell than the bites. And was it last year or 2 years ago? Like a year and a half ago?
It was last year.
So it's a funny thing. Caitlin's my daughter, and we can go back and forth in the story, but is the best part is sometimes we will be the best friends, and sometimes we are. The best part about it is that we are with each other pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we've been like that since her mom's passed away 18 years ago. So we have a very rich story with each other. So sometimes when you're with each other so much, you sometimes have different viewpoints. And so and sometimes we have stronger viewpoints than other people do. So when we went to a show and somebody said, we would love to buy your samples. And so the bites came out of our samples because we always give people our samples, and the samples are the bites. And I went to Caitlin and I said, can you make me um can you make me the bites in the bags, and can you work with me and get this thing done? She looked at me, she's like, Dad, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, Caitlin, I want to do it. She's like, I don't want to do this. And so was it about a week and that we went back and forth.
Well, because I said it was going to take over the melts. And
Yes.
that's what it did.
And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm not going to do that. No, I won't let that happen. I'm promising you this won't go over. And was it about a week and a half ago that I actually looked at you and said, okay, fine. I admit it. It did. So, but it was because I did our year-end numbers, and like, okay, yeah, I did it. It's just like, I just want you to understand that I was right, you were wrong. Like, that is hard to admit to your child that they were wrong. I mean, that they were right and you were wrong, but I've learned to do that in the last 2 years. But the problem is that the bites.
Can I
love
pause?
them.
Can I pause
Sure.
for a second? There's an issue with the cameras.
Sure.
They're glitching. All right. We're rolling again.
Sounds good.
Sorry.
No, so that's how the bites came. That's exactly how the bites came to life, and that's become our bestseller. And then after that, somebody at Holt, actually, one of the other vendors said, Todd, you know what? We love your bites, but we still don't. We still miss that crunch. Can you do something with that? So then we actually added the cashews back into it.
Those are amazing.
And that's become, and so we've added the cashews, and we like that. And then I always love potato chips and the chocolate curry, and I never understand why only in Christmas time can you get the chocolate covered
Like
the
cashews.
potato chips.
Oh, right.
For
Yeah.
better made. Like, this is stupid. Why can you only? And so I'm like, well, we got chocolate, and so we started dipping potato chips in them, and I wanted to find a local business that I was actually making potato chips. So we're looking right now at different companies to bring in that are made in Michigan. So we actually have a few made in Michigan ones that we buy, but we're looking at carrying other ones. And so what we do is we always look for made in Michigan stuff that we can carry, that we can work with, because we really do believe in small businesses. We are a small business. We started off as a dad-daughter thing. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. In fact, on the way over here, we were talking about all the stupid things that we've gone through in the last 15 years of doing everything together. And but it cracks us up, and we tell people nobody would ever believe half the stories that we could tell you for stories for next 2 days straight, and you wouldn't believe half of them. And the problem is we put this. So we took our potato chips and we started dipping them in our chocolate, and I love those. Those are my favorite, and we sell those so that goes along with what we do. And so this week we're going to the International Auto Show, and we're actually taking the chips and the cashews, and we're actually going into with our bites this weekend. So that's kind of fun, and I'm excited about that.
That's very cool.
So, and we're not in Holt right now anymore, because we weren't able to be there all the time, which is sad because I really love Holt. That was my favorite farmers market in the whole time. But
yeah, I believe
staffing.
Your girlfriend was saying that she's like, yeah, we haven't been back since you were there last.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. And it was hard. It was really hard because we love Holt, and I like the vendors there, and different things. But it was that hour trip back and forth, and I couldn't get a lot of our guys like doing what we're doing, but it's the winter time.
Yeah.
And some of the people that are working with me, we were sitting there talking, and we're a family, and we've got adopted people working with us, and we sat down and talked, and it's like they were talking about it, and it's like, you know what, I'd rather put their safety ahead of them sliding off the road, driving an hour and different things. And if I can't drive them there, if I can't do this, and we've got so many different shows coming up, and I'm like, you know what, guys, and Chuck said, if you can't be there every week, and so so I understand that. So probably in June we'll talk to him again, and probably hopefully next year we'll have a few other guys that can go out there and do it. But we probably took a pause right now. We are in Holly, which is right around the corner and from us, and that works because a lot of the people that work with us, they are in Holly. They grew up in Holly. They know everybody there, so
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
How many stores do you have your products in?
We've got 3 distributors right now that are distributing our products, and I think they've got them into about 200 stores.
Wow.
Mostly up in the thumb and around Bay City. Brad's got them in different places. We've got them in Arnie's, and that's the one we've got them into, and that's probably one of my favorite stores. And I love all the other places we've put them into, and Apple Tree is the one. I've put them into like about 10 stores, but I'd like to get them all across the state of Michigan, right? Holt, Lansing would be a great place to put them into.
Have you ever looked into Horrocks?
No, but I'd love to. I've heard about Horrocks so much because I'd like to get them to Horrocks, because I think Horrocks is, well, when I used to have an office over here, when I was doing long time ago, when I used to work over here, Horrocks was my favorite place to stop and pick things up before I went back to Flint.
It's an awesome store.
It is the awesomest store in the world. And a friend of mine actually just got his flowers in the Horrocks too.
Oh, okay.
Pat, that works at the chicken spot. What's that chicken place up in Holt? I used to get my chicken there. Otto's Chicken, or is it right when you go into Holt's Farmers Market?
Oh, okay.
The guy the Pat and his wife work there. They do flowers in the summer, and they sell, and they have their flowers in Horrocks. So,
very cool.
Yeah,
I know a bunch of small businesses that have stuff in Horrocks.
So I'd love to get in Horrocks.
You definitely should.
Yeah, and then we always look for distributors. We actually got a distributor we're working with right now that's on the west side of the state of Michigan, and that he's actually on the west side, and he's working with Illinois, Indiana, and I think he's doing Indiana, Illinois, and west side of Michigan. One of the things we'd like to do, and this is why we're doing the small. So we've been talking about this. So, this is my presentation to Kate on air. Is the reason why we're doing the single packs is that we are actually trying to do high schools with our product, because I honestly watch that this actually does help kids with focus, with energy. It is keto friendly. It's actually really good for the kids, and so the single packs to me work really good because they can rip them open, and they can have them. You know what I'm saying? So
how much caffeine is in one bite?
One bite's like a quarter cup of coffee.
Okay.
So it's kind of, if you look at it. So we have a special bean. So that's a good question, because what we do is we make them with our coffee blend. So and we're actually working with different other coffee companies that want to put their coffee into the chocolate that we do.
Cool.
So we have our own. So when you see our product without somebody else's sticker on them, that's our own blend. That's the original, and we are allowing, because we want other coffee companies to be able to do this. We know the ratio of how much it goes into, but we won't tell people what the ratio is, because that's kind of stupid for us to share. Right. So, because it's funny, because we always get that question asked to us, but like from company, well, how much of this? No, I'm not going to tell you. All I'm going to tell you is that this is what
it's equivalent to.
Right. And we've actually had companies that will put our products besides theirs. And I'm always telling them, listen, if you don't give it to us on a different roast that we ask you for, it's not going to be a good thing. And so we did it. And one of the companies said, oh no, I got a better roast. their products stayed on their shelves. Our products flew off their shelves.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, now will you listen, please? Because if you burn the coffee, if you go, like everyone thinks that you need to have a dark roast. Well, dark roast doesn't do great with chocolate. It's just going to make
Bitter,
it. It's going to make that chocolate bitter. If you do it with like we do a nice medium roast. But what we do is we bring different beans from across the world together, and we actually do them in a different roast, and then we bring them together as one final roast.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
kind of how we do it. And I like it that way. And so there's only 3 of us that actually know how to roast it that way.
Wow.
And so I mean, other roasters probably would know how to do it too. And every roaster you meet that really does this, they have their own way of doing it, right? Every commercial roaster, and they have their own flavor of doing roasting. Some like drum roasting, some like air roasting, some like different, there's so many different roasters out there. Everybody has their preference,
Is there a
and
better way?
no, I like air better than drum. Because air to me, I like a smaller roast batch than I do like a bigger roast. I think that the bigger roast gets away from if you burn something, you burn the whole batch and you're burning bigger pounds of it. I like it that I can control up and down I can control the temp better. And I think the thing is that I think it's more made to order.
Okay.
And I like that. I like the fact that I'm still from that old school where you make the coffee for the person. So we still roast coffee for people. We still have people who will call us up and say, "Hey Todd, I need this, and this." And so we kind of do that. So we still have people. We don't have it on our website. We were talking about putting our coffee back up on our website. And I haven't, because I felt like I didn't want to take away from other coffee roasters for the longest time. So I took when we started this in 2020.
Yeah, it was around 2020.
It started in COVID. To be really honest with you, it started in COVID because I have ADD really bad, and Caitlin had to suffer through my ADD really bad. And when they shut down the state, oh Lord! And that was at the same time we were trying to build up our offices, and I was going crazy and I was going nuts. And because like you couldn't go anywhere, you had to sit at home, and I'm not the person that ever sit at home. And so we had to do something. And so this was she bought me. How many models did you buy me to do? And
I bought you quite a few, but like where you were doing them, it wasn't the smartest.
Yeah, I was doing them in this one room office area, and I was getting high by doing them because I forgot that the glue. And I'm like, oh man, that was good. And she's like, okay, we got to do another project to get him, get his mind off this. And so I went in this room, and I'm like, hey, I was thinking about selling this roaster because we're not really doing much with it. And so I'm like, let's roast this thing just to see what we could do. And then we had this chocolate. And so we just started doing this, and we passed it out to different people just to try it. And that created this product.
Wow.
We did create a product that we have not sold to anybody. So we've never brought it to market.
What is it?
So we used to do popcorn. We used to have a popcorn company. And so we thought, hey, let's take this great idea we have, and let's
So we did kettle corn base, and we would put the caffeinated chocolate over on top of the popcorn.
And we ate the whole bag.
Yeah.
And it was like crack. 2 days later, we went to sleep.
Oh my god.
We were up, and we were so much having fun. It was like I thought I saw. What did I think?
We didn't know how much caffeine was going into.
No, we did not know how much caffeine we ate. We called Julie at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we thought we did this. We started eating this at about. We were watching TV. Weren't we watching TV? We were watching something.
No, we were driving home from the office.
Yeah, and then we went. Yeah, and we were watching TV, and we were just eating this together, talking. And then we just couldn't go to sleep. And so we were like, hey, let's go for a drive. And we just drove around, and we drove through the worst parts of Flint. we drove and we called her and I'm like, hey, I just think I saw a reindeer. And she's like, what? I'm like, and then we drove up and down I-75. We were in Detroit.
Oh
We
my
were up in Mount Pleasant.
gosh.
And I'm like, oh man. So we went to the casino. We
It's
stayed.
like you need to go home
You
because
need to
if
go
you
home.
crash,
When
you're
you
gonna-
crash, you're gonna crash hard. And it was like the next day, like, yeah, I'm tired. I think I'm going to bed. And we slept for like a day. Just like, what the heck did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. And so we said we can't sell that. We just
Oh my
do not
gosh.
think, because there's no way I can tell people. But that was really, it was like a chocolate. It looked exactly like a chocolate covered. It was a chocolate covered popcorn,
Wow.
and we ate the whole bag.
Wow.
And it was like a bag. It wasn't like a bag like that you have your bites in or anything.
Right, right.
It was like one of those big bags that you buy for kettle corn. And we ate that whole bag. It was so good, and it kept us awake. And it usually doesn't affect us. That's the weird part about it. Is our product does affect us. It keeps us awake, but it never does that to us.
That's
And
hilarious.
That was so. I'm like, yeah, we should probably do that.
I bought your little bites for my dad for Christmas, and he texted me like 2 days later, and he's like, "These things are so addictive." He's like, "I ate a whole bag, and now I have the jitters." I'm like, well, you shouldn't have ate the whole bag.
Yeah. Hold back a little bit. Just have a little bit. But it is good. They are good, and that's the best part about them. That they are good in that they give you a jitters, but they don't give you that like I'm going off and running the marathon jitters, right?
Right.
But yeah, if you have ADD, they're probably not the best thing to eat the whole bag. You know, I tried it. But you know what I find about them is that when we do shows, one of the things, not farmers markets, except for Port Austin, most farmers markets, I'm there within an hour. But like if we're doing Shipshawanas, if we're doing other shows, the day we go, we usually go the day to set up because it doesn't take that long. And
Right.
we've got 4 dogs, and just we try to run the family kind of stuff. And so we don't want to be away from the house as much as we can try to be. And the funny part about that is that we go early in the morning, so it means I don't sleep the night. I just can't. I just toss and turn. And on the way there, I'm just eating the cashews, and that keeps me awake the whole day. As I just
Oh my
do
god.
our project, and then I'm just tired at the end. I stop eating about halfway through the show that day, and then I can sleep that night. You know, we'll go to dinner, and then I just go to the hotel, and everybody goes to the pool or something, and I just go back to the room and just sleep. And then the next day, I'm awake. I'm myself again. Is that all it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow. So how often do you eat them every day?
I do. I actually I'm pretty much the cashew person or the potato chip. I do the bites. Julie does more bites all day long. I mean, she does. I like the cashews. I do because I'm a diabetic, and what I love about them is that I get my protein when I'm eating them. So I get the cashew, and that the potato chips probably is not as healthy. I can guarantee you that. But I do them, and the best part about them is that I can control what I'm eating. You know, like I can get 2 or 3 a day.
Right.
But yeah, I do them every day. I used to do. It's funny. I used to do rock stars and C4s. I used to do 3 or 4 of those a day.
Oh my gosh.
And now I'll do like 1 a day.
Okay.
When I'm running in different things, I've cut down from 5 or 6 of those down to like 1.
Wow.
And I've gone into our product a lot more. And it does help me a lot more to stay awake, you know, because I'm running all the time, and when I need to crash, I crash. And these I like because they don't keep me up all day long all night. And I stop
Right.
eating about 3, 4 o'clock. I'll stop eating.
That's the thing about like rock stars and the energy drinks is you're easily taking in 300 milligrams of caffeine
Right.
in one sitting in one
Right.
can,
Right.
which is a lot. I mean, you don't know how long that's going to last.
No, you don't. And then when you crash, and you don't know how hard that is on your heart either.
Right.
And these, I know you're doing about 180 and you're okay.
It's like a little microdose.
Yeah. And you can control it, right? You do about 180 if you do 4 of them, right? And we always tell people it's like in each bag, each of the big bags, it's like 5 cups of coffee. But sometimes there's about 6 cups in each bag, and you're paying. If you're doing the $20 deal that we sell, you're basically getting a cup of coffee for less than $1, which if you buy anything from Starbucks or anything from even a local diner, you're still paying more than that.
It's true. Yeah.
So if you figure what you're paying for the energy drinks and everything like that, you're still paying. And even the sample ones that we're selling out now, the one that's getting ready to come out, it's going to be probably like $3, and so it's $1.50, and it'll be two different. It'll be 8, so it's going to be eight of those are going to be in one, so it's going to be 2 cups. So it'll be about $1.50. So it's
Wow.
not that bad. So
Well, I'm telling you, you guys have a great product.
Thank
and
you. I
everybody I
appreciate that.
give it to, they're like, this stuff is amazing. How do you find things like this? I'm like, I go to like local events and I find things like this. And honestly, I would have never tried your guys' product if you weren't like, hey, you guys want to try coffee infused chocolate? And I was like, yes.
That has
I
become the
love
best thing.
coffee.
And that's my favorite thing. That's become our thing, and this is, I kind of like it, and I like this, you know, the fact that we were able to do this together.
Well,
So
let's talk a little bit about the origin story. How did that come about? You said you started like 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
you want to go through the whole
Yeah.
clip
Let's go
through
through
it?
the story. We got
We can
time.
do that.
You want to?
All right.
All right. So it starts off 18 years ago. I was Caitlin's mom passed away, was a drunk driver in
Mhm.
Durand, killed her. And so Kate was 10 years old and she came live with me. And I knew I was a weekend dad, and we were close, but we weren't like, what would you say?
I don't know. We were close, but we had like
Her mom was the raiser. I wasn't the raiser.
Yeah, you were like the weekend.
I was the weekend dad, right?
Weekend
I was
dad.
the one that I didn't have to do all the school things. I didn't have to do the Girl Scout things. I didn't even know she was in Girl Scouts, to be really honest with you, until she came live with me. I didn't know that. And then so there's a lot of things I learned.
You didn't know until you showed up at happened to show up at the right store. I was selling cookies out to you, and you're like, wait, what?
That's my kid. What are you doing? And why am I buying cookies from some girl over here that I don't know? No, but anyways, so at 10 years old, she came to live with me, and my mom was working with me. And I was doing business consulting, and I had some of the guys we were on a radio station, and we were taking small businesses and working with them. And we thought we could do the whole world. And to be honest with you, we tried as best we could do. But at that time, we were trying to do things, and it was just, I had a group of guys that some of the guys I miss a lot. I really do. They were some of the best guys I've ever known in my entire life, and they've passed on and stuff like that. And but when Caitlin came live with me, that became the thing that was my whole focus. And I just went that route, and I just wanted to take care of her. And somebody brought a project to me, and we just did that project. And we moved that project into the house. A friend of mine found a house for me in the country, and we went to go do that. And we brought us out to the country, and for about 5 years, we were around the country.
5 years, yeah.
And it was just been that time where her school, I took her to a private school for 2 years, and I just wanted to be that dad, right? Just to be more of a dad, because I felt like I'd missed the 10 years with her. And so 5 years we were building golf gloves. So this is funny. We build golf gloves without fingers on them, and they would give you 7 more yards on your thing. And so we went to all these golf shows, and we built things. Then her school closed down, and I used to substitute at her school, and one of her teachers said, "You know what, Todd, you should homeschool her." So I did, and so she got homeschooled. So we homeschooled, and she worked with me in the company homeschooling. So we actually spent we were together pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then we traveled to Florida. We traveled around the country working with companies. and doing different designs and stuff. And we took on projects, and we took on short-term contracts, and that was fun. That was just so she got
This
to see
was
the country.
making gloves.
Well, actually, after I sold the glove business,
Okay.
a friend of mine called me up and said, I need you to go here, I need you to go there. And so we did this. So we went and helped small businesses redevelop themselves.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
kind of what we did. So we'd go into a company, help them turn their company around, and then come home. So we
Wow.
worked with them for about 5-6 months, and then I'd come
Wow.
home and stuff like that. And then I felt like it was time to stay home for a while, and my mom was getting sicker at that time. So, and she was getting older, so we came home, and then it was becoming, I guess it was just more to be home based. And then we opened up a shop, and we were doing home based shopping, and that was something we loved doing. So we were shopping for seniors.
Mm.
And how we got in the roasting business was a lot of our seniors liked coffee. So we found a local roasting company. And once we started getting people to buy their coffee, they were up the price. They actually almost tripled the price of the coffee.
Wow.
I'm like, you can't do that. And they're like, oh, well, we can. You're not buying over 100. Like, these guys can't afford this money. You can't do this. And they're like, well, we can. So, funny story about that was, this is how God works, I think, more than anything else. I was like ticked. So I went down to a store, and I walked in, and I saw this coffee. Like, man, I was just ticked. I'm like, I wonder about this thing. And the lady who didn't know me from Adam said, hey, you should call this company. They might be able to help you. So I called them, and they got me onto the owner. And I said, I know nothing about coffee, roasting or anything like this. And the guy's like, really? He said, are you willing to learn? I'm like, yeah, I'm willing to learn anything. He said, come down and see me tomorrow. So I went down, and he's the owner, and he's the one who designed this machine. He's like, I'll teach you. And he said, even a monkey can figure out this. But then he started teaching me all the intricacies of the coffee, and started teaching me all the beans, started teaching me everything like that. And I really enjoyed him. He's passed away since. And so we're now getting ready to go back to working with them and buying the same old machines we used to have. So I'm looking forward to that. Within the next few weeks, we're going to have their machines again. Within about a month, we'll have their machines again. After he retired, the new company brought all their machines back home. Now the new companies that I just talked to, the guy who took it over is willing to get all the machines back out to all the people. So that's a good thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So it's kind of a cool thing that we're coming back to that. But yeah, that was it. So we started roasting, and it was fun, and we had fun. I mean, people wouldn't listen to us. We went down and got trained on how to roast coffee for a week of learning these machines and different. We brought this back home, and some of these guys said, oh, we know what they're doing. And one guy started the whole thing on fire. And one time I saw one guy wouldn't listen to me and left one thing off, and I ducked, and beans were actually on fire. They were flying by me.
Oh my
and
gosh.
they were on fire flying by us.
It burn a hole into like the
A bag. I still have the bag somewhere around the office, because I'm like, there's no way in the world anyone will believe us that this bag, and it was just a plastic, it was just a canvas bag, and this thing was flying by us like,
oh my God.
I'm like, dude, did you? I'm crawling to try to turn off the machine, unplug it. He's like, oh no, I know it. I'm like, oh Lord. And so we learned that we have had so many stupid things happen because people won't listen to us. And Kaylin's like that. I'm like, and then we had people who will run the machine. And so finally, we've all decided, with Julie and I and Kaylin's decided, no one else is going to touch the machine but the three of us. It's like we're even helping that one. So we've had people where it's like, with the machine now you have to watch the numbers and everything. With the machine that we had, the best part about it is that you can actually type it in once you know the different numbers. And that's all we would tell people, to type them in. So Richard said, even a monkey could figure this thing out, right? Yeah, guess what? We had some guys that were dumber than monkeys, I guess. So, and it was funny because these guys would always say they knew better and they would tell Caitlin, oh, I know what I'm doing and all this other stuff. And Caitlin's like, okay. And then I'd be walking, and it's always sometimes I'd be walking in the door and Caitlin would be like, Dad, I told him, I just told him, So
I'm not responsible.
yeah, I'm not. And she's like, I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm trying to tell this person and they won't listen to me. So, there's nothing she could do. So that was it.
What kind of impact do you think like helping your dad and like growing up with him and running the business has had on you in your life? As like an adolescent, like as far as like business, like learning how to run a business and structure and everything.
Well, everything I've like learned about business or whatever is from him or watching him. So, um, my friend and I, when we started the company, my friend was working with us, and when she actually left to go to a different job, she actually thanked him because she said, I feel confident about any job I can get because you've taught me, like, you've given me the confidence to and knowledge that I feel I can go into any job because of everything I've learned.
That's awesome. That's kind of a true testament to like you don't necessarily need a degree in order to learn how to do something. I mean, you just said that you didn't know anything about roasting coffee, and here you are with a coffee-based business.
Yeah,
and you're I would assume pretty successful at it. I mean, the stuff tastes amazing. So
I think the thing is that you just have to be willing to learn. And I think a lot of people think that the degrees, it's funny because a lot of it, the older I get, the more I reflect on life, right? I have a bachelor's degree in stuff. And then I think about this all the time. I was going for my master's degree and a friend of mine was walking around with me. We love to do walks a lot. I don't know, it doesn't always look like it a lot of times, but we love to take long walks and talk. And that's where I always find my best thinking is just taking long walks and just thinking with friends. And
it's like a form of meditation in a sense.
it kind of is,
Yeah.
it's kind of I used to go for long walks and when I could and when my back's not out or something like that and I can walk. But it is the time where I feel like it's my time with I don't take my phone with me except for if I'm going to listen to the radio or something like that. But it's my time between me and God where I can just kind of listen and just kind of talk to somebody when we're out there listening and talking. So if I want to really listen to somebody and give them my attention, it's always been the way I've done business with people is that um I always tell people if you want to come do a meeting with me, bring your tennis shoes, we're gonna go walk. And people think I'm weird, but and when people used to come do counseling with, we would do work with them. I'd always tell people bring me a unsweetened iced tea from McDonald's. As long as I have that, I'll work with you. That was my quote unquote contingency thing. Because that helped me work with because a lot of people can't afford the first, few hours to actually listen to what's going on in their business.
Right.
And so that wasn't probably the best business plan that we could have come up with. Our bank didn't really think that was smart, but what we did find out was the older I've got is that it's funny because everyone thinks you need to have these degrees. And when I was going through my master's degree, I remember a friend of mine walking and he looked at me and he said, Todd, you own the business. How far do you have to go in your company with a master's degree? And I looked at him like, he's like, yeah, I don't think you need this degree. He's like, no one's going to hire your company because you have a master's degree. No one's going to hire you because you have a doctorate degree. And I kind of stopped right then and didn't go farther with my master's. I just kind of went in and I went to class. And I will never forget the day I did stop. I went to the University of Michigan class. It was a psychology class because that's one of my degrees I was working with. and a young guy who just got discharged from the army was in that class, and and the teacher, the instructor, was up there talking about how bad this kid was because he was the problem, because he was in the military, because if he didn't have to kill babies and all this other stuff.
Wow.
And I looked at the guy, I'm like, excuse me, did you ever serve in the military? He's like, no, I would never serve this way. And I thought, it's kind of funny. You are actually sitting here putting down and insulting somebody who actually did stand on the yellow line, and you don't even have the nerve to do that, but you have the nerve to cut him down in the class, because you can't say, and he just looked at me, and I'm like, you know what, I was on the line whether or not I want to go further with my degree. You just made it easier.
Wow.
And the guy looked at me and goes, what? Because I said something. I'm like, you're not taking a First Amendment. You're not taking anything well. You're sitting here, you should be sitting here telling this guy you actually respect him, because honestly, this is the man who actually stood up. And he's like, what, are you a veteran? I'm like, yeah, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of the fact that he served. I'm not proud of the fact that you didn't serve. And he just looked at me and goes, wow. And I just walked out. And I think that's the last time I've been in a classroom. And I don't think that a degree is for everybody. I think that a lot of people get trades. I think trade schools are great. I think that's probably the best way, because I mean, I've seen so many people come out with degrees right now. What the heck do you need for a degree for some study that nobody's going to hire you for?
Right.
You just got, your bank's fine to give you that loan.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay that loan off for the next 20 years for nothing. I'm not saying that it's
Or
a
longer.
wrong thing. And I don't think it's a bad thing. If you got a degree, that's fine. I'm not going to put a person down because they got a degree. But I have a friend of mine who was going for his doctorate degree. He got really mad at me. He was going for a doctorate degree in, he was a pastor going for his doctorate degree in theology. And I looked at him, and he was our pastor, and he's like, yes, I'm going to go. Let's go to be a doctor. I'm like, okay. I said, can you explain something to me? He's like, well, I said, so you're going to tell me that John 3:16 means something different when you become a doctor than what it means when you're just a regular person? He's like, Todd, that's not, but it's the truth. That's what you're doing. You're spending money writing theology. And he just looked at me, I'm like, but does that do anything? Does that really do anything for anyone? And
I think in that field, it's more or less having that title.
Yes.
I have a brother who he actually does a podcast called The Church Split.
Yeah.
And he is big into theology, and he's going to school for theology right now. But like, in order to get into the positions that he wants to get in, you have to have it. And so it's just a title thing.
But the funny thing is that I've never understood any it. We were talking about this on the way over here. We were like, for instance, I was watching a guy's video yesterday on TikTok. It was really interesting. He was talking about men with beards, right? And I thought it was really interesting. He said, well, if a man ever has a beard, that's not scriptural. And I'm thinking, okay, think about this straight. They talk about hearing the hair out of Jesus' beard. I'm not thinking that's it's in the scripture. I think that's kind of scriptural. And so we were talking about that, and I'm like, it's kind of interesting that, we want so many people to be, it's funny, the guys who changed the whole world followed the person without a degree. Some of the greatest guys that you go back to never had a degree.
Yep.
I mean, if you go back to some of the guys who changed this whole country, that really did change this country, never had a degree.
Yep.
Look at Thomas Edison, look at Henry Ford, look at all these guys. They didn't have degrees.
Yep.
They had was they had a passion. Talk about Hershey. I mean, that if somebody wants to know a man that I actually love to study about,
that's right up your alley.
Yeah, it is. It really is. One of my favorite places to go is Hershey Park, and it is. We've been there a few times, and because he's one of my biggest inspirations in life, honestly. But he never had a degree. He failed so many different times. Thomas Edison failed so many different times. All these different guys, we failed. you don't know how many times we've failed, and how many times we've had how do you want to say it? We've had
A lot of trial and error.
yeah, and we've had a lot of people mad at us, and we have. I mean, we've never been. I want to say we've had. I'd love to look at someone and say, yeah, the first one we ever did was right out of the park, and
Right.
it wasn't. I mean, we've lost some good people in our world. We've lost some people that were good that we lost them, and we trusted people that we shouldn't have trusted, and we've lost people because we didn't trust them like we should have. We were talking about one of the people today that we really owed. I really do think that if I ever could owe somebody in this world the biggest apology, I owe her the biggest apology for everything in life. But other than that, through that we have learned how to come closer together. Julie and I have learned how to talk, a lot more communication. Um, but we've learned to draw each other more into a family. And that's what we've learned more than anything else is that um, it's not what we know, it's what people think that it's not what we know, it's how much we care about people. And that has become our theme. For instance, one of the things that I have always fought for, and I'll be honest with you, and this is where I'm proud of now more than anything else. We just wrote a check last week for the first time in a long, long time for $150. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, but in November we were able to give away 25 gift baskets. Last week we wrote a check for $150 plus giving away gift baskets um, to homeless veterans and to shut-ins. Um, and we also gave $100 to a charity that was raising for one of the girls that work with us, and that was our charity. So 2% of everything we sell goes back to the communities that we
Wow.
want to, but it always goes back to the veterans. So we had a good week, a good month in December. In January, we were looking to give out different things, and our heart goes toward always homeless veterans. Um, we also look for things when it comes to animal rights. We also look for things. Caitlin, when she was 6 years old, had epilepsy. So we do look that way sometimes. And diabetes, we look for that. So we look for different things, and people who've lost loved ones and different routes
Can,
like that.
can you move the mic slightly closer?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You're like cutting out.
Okay. How's that?
Good.
Okay. So we do look for charities that we give to. We try to give 10%. So we figure 2% of our total sales versus is like our 10% of our net sales.
Right.
So that's what we do. And so that's the one part of our company that we're proud of is that we are able to give back to everybody. So when people give back to us, so if you buy from a wholesale company, if you buy from, retail company out there, if you buy from us directly, if you buy from a show, you buy from anything like that, 2% doesn't seem like a lot, but if you really put it all together, it's about 10% of our net that we're actually giving back to
Wow.
people. So we're not giving it back to a church. We're giving it back to organizations.
Community.
Yes. Our biggest part is we write checks all the time to, we did start writing checks to the VA hospital up in Saginaw or other hospitals that are veteran owned. And the reason why is because 100% of that will go to the homeless situations because there's not any of that money has to be used for administration because the federal government and the state government covers their administration cost, their payroll, their offices, and everything. So everything we give to them, 100% goes to helping homeless
Is that
situations.
locally?
Saginaw, we do all the Saginaw ones right now.
Okay.
So, but we would do locally if we're over in this area.
But
So-
what I mean is that when you donate to them, does it
Yes.
go to the local
Yes.
veterans?
Yes. So everything that Saginaw does goes from Saginaw all the way up to the UP.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then it's everything from like in the Mason area, they do in the Lansing area that does from Lansing over toward Grand Rapids and go down. And then
Okay.
everything from Ann Arbor, they have their own regions that they deal with. So they have a region that they do it with. And it also helps for, homeless veterans for shelter. It helps them for food. It helps them, it helps for clothing and rides and whatever they might need. The thing is, we don't know how to get to them, but if we can get money to the associations that know how to get to them, that's what we want to do. And so that's what we're working on.
So that's amazing. And screw that professor for saying, for talking crap about veterans. I mean, the fact that you're a veteran yourself and you're giving back to that community, you're helping a community of people that are, severely mentally ill and they need help.
Yeah. There's a lot of homeless veterans that we need to reach to.
Do you know what the population is?
I don't, it changes. And I don't want to quote a number that's off, but it goes up and down. But I do know there's 22 veterans a day on suicide every day. And I know that number doesn't seem high, but it is high if you add that up.
That's a lot of people.
Right.
If you think about 22 people that you knew.
Yep.
That's a lot of people.
Here's the thing. I remember a story. Do you remember this story when we owned that coffee shop where that guy came in with his gunshots all through his whole car?
I don't remember that now.
When we were in the coffee shop, so this guy came in and we got to know him, and he had got off his medications and he was having a PTSD attack, and he wanted to die so bad. He drove his car in the middle of a city into the middle of Flint to try to kill himself. So he drove in the worst parts he could to try to get shot at. And you could see bullet holes in his car and stuff like that. And I couldn't believe he would do that. And yeah, he was still alive. He's like, he was disappointed because he didn't want to commit suicide, but he wanted somebody else to do it for him. And there's stories that you hear people hanging themselves or killing themselves, or you hear about people freezing to death at the rivers or underneath shelters and stuff like that. In my brain goes, why are we helping 1 million people coming across borders?
Right.
And we're not putting people in hotels that serve their countries. And so we are working right now. So here's something that we're introducing to you that's coming, and hopefully someday I can get this to you faster, but we are now working on a program that is like a small Amazon, to bring local businesses and people all across the country that can actually have a storefront that is able to go, and so the percentage of that will go back to the veteran programs. And so
it's like an Amazon for retail
for anybody, but all the percentages that we collect, a percentage of that will go back to the veteran organizations across the country.
That's cool.
And so and then they're actually working on a community road show that will go, or like a, I don't know if you've ever been to a ship run on the road or anything like that, but like a big show that does like an outdoor show, different things, brings all these different people in, vendors, and they're going to do 24 shows a year. I know we're trying to do one show in 2024 in the Flint area. They want to do the Dort Federal Arena in Burton, right off Lapeer Road, and they want to do that, be the first kickoff one because it's in our town. It's where we grew up. Kind of, we want to start there. But that percentage, 2 or 3, 4% will go to the local veterans in that area. So I know that we're working on bringing that across. So they want to do 24 shows a year that will go across the country and help veterans and military active people. So we are teaming up with that company, and actually helping build that company. So that's what I work on.
What's the name of that company?
The company, the parent company, is coming across as Legend Enterprise Group, because we want to leave different things. So we're working on that right now. And when I leave out of here, I should be finding out the name of the storefront and everything, because the IT company is working on it. And the best part, here's the fun part about it: the guy who's putting the whole thing together is donating his time to actually build a storefront and everything.
Wow.
So I will let you know the name of it because he's like, Todd, don't reveal everything all at once. So I have to promise. So I probably will get killed for saying everything without saying the stuff. So the funny thing is Julie sends Caitlin. You asked me why Caitlin, you asked me if she comes in the podcast. Yes, Caitlin is the person who travels with me to keep me from saying stuff that I shouldn't say. That is why she is my conscience 99% of the time.
That's awesome. Well, I love doing this. This was it was awesome to get an insight of your business and kind of where it came from. I think it's incredibly inspiring when somebody just starts something and then it becomes. You talked about the beginning process. You were selling things in little plastic baggies, and I love that. I love that's an origin story. It's where you came from, and I have a similar story with the whole podcast. Because I had this equipment, but I started with not knowing anything and I just started doing it. And I think that's an important message to a lot of people is that if there's something that you want to do, just research it, figure it out. You have YouTube, you have Google, you can figure anything out online right now and just do it.
This is awesome. This has been the most fun I've had in a long time doing podcasts. This is great.
I love doing podcasts. We talked about like grounding and like kind of like just forgetting your phone and not even thinking about like meditation. Right. And for me, it's like it's a moment where you can just sit back, not be focused on your phone, and just have a conversation with somebody.
Right.
And you get to learn. For me, it's an education. I'm getting a little bit of insight on your business. You're telling me like how you do something, and everybody who's a guest, it's like that. It's a learning experience.
Well, thanks for letting us come. It's been an honor for me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Caitlin. And thank you, Todd.
Yes.
All right. Oh yeah, real quick. Where can people find your product?
At Our Town Snacks. It's exactly ourtownsnacks.com. You can find us there. And you can find us every other weekend at Holly Farmers Market. You can find us in the summer at Port Austin. And you can find us this weekend, if this goes out on this week, you can find us at in Grand Rapids at the International Auto Show. And then all of our shows should be coming up on our Facebook. You can really find us on Facebook where we're going to be in travel and stuff like that. Our Facebook account tells you exactly where we're going. Julie keeps us up, and then it also tells you how much everybody is donating to. To me, it's not just what we donate; it's what everybody is part of, right? And we're all doing it together. My goal would be, one big goal is to be donating $1,000 a month to veteran organizations across the country. And you'll see all the different things about the storefronts, about the shows and everything that we're getting involved with on our Facebook. And it's the most fun that we're doing. So.
Okay, cool. And then as far as ordering, can you order online?
You can order online.
Anywhere in the US?
Anywhere in the US. You can order anywhere in the US and we can ship it right to you.
Awesome. Cool.
So, and pretty soon we should be on Amazon. We're trying to get everything set up on there.
Sweet.
So
that's awesome.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, all those will be in the show notes. So
thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, bye.